So I talk about this thing called an Egyptian cooling system, and all it is really, ideally, is this. Now, how does it work? Well, underground, where you have a chamber, an empty chamber, and I don't know if you can see very clearly on here. I will put this up in a link so everything's all in reverse, but it's okay. So we have water in here, and this runs into a radiator, okay? And as the hot air that rises up into your houses in the summertime goes into these chambers and it gets sucked down, then once it gets pushed all the way down into here, it's in this chamber below the building. And as the hot air sits in here, as it begins to cool down, it will run through here, these pipes which have water in it, and it's cold water. And because this tank is slightly higher than this, when the water starts to heat up from the air that travels through it, the water will begin to run upwards because heat rises. Only in uniformed environments will heat rise. And as it runs up to here, the hot water will sit in here for a little while, and as it starts to cool down, the water will drop down into the bottom tank, being the cold water. And for more the hot water pushes out, the cold water pushes back in, thus for creating a cycle of cooling. Okay? And as the hot air sits in here, it begins to cool down, and as it does, it falls down. And as it falls down, it's then ready to be pushed back up into the house, and it can come back out through here, or here, here, or here. And it wants to be as close to the bottom of the room as possible, so the cold air is able to rise up and become heated. And this is the Egyptian cooling system. Now, it's on the website, so you could be able to see this a little bit more clearer. mycontentions.com, and it's all there, and explains everything, the whole process of how this works. It is very complicated. Now, inside the house, rather than using insulation, I don't know if you noticed, the roof is a very telltale sign, and I will go on to another one in a minute if I can find it up, where rather than put in fiberglass inside here, these are actually vacuum. This is vacuum insulation. And why vacuum? Well, we're going to get on to a lot of that in a little while. When you take a look at a flask, and whether you keep something cold inside a flask or whether you keep something hot inside a flask, depending on what you're doing, you are initially making the substance inside either cooler for a longer period of time using little energy, in fact very little energy. So this uses very little energy compared to your AC. So your air conditioning units are very expensive and they're hungry on the electric. So if you were to build a chamber like this one, and this is how it works, you'll use very little energy to cool down your house. Now, there is a version that allows you to heat your house as well. However, for these to be a success, you have to be able to create these things called vacuum tiles. Now, the vacuum tiles I'm getting onto on the next one, and I shall be posting those all up to how you can achieve that. Now, this whole process is really crazy, okay? So most people will be like, well, if we are in a vacuum, won't that cause us to suffocate? No, because they're tiles. So the same way within our house we have these little vents inside them, we want some air to filter in through the house to stop any suffocation or anything like that. Now, if we place tiles in such a way around the whole of your house, you are able to generate very, very little energy to cool it down or heat it up, because the outside elements are unable to penetrate in and the inside elements are unable to penetrate outwards. So most of the time we will heat our house, which is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Why should we stop doing that? That's something that we've all grown accustomed to. That's not what we're saying. So rather than getting rid of all of this, what we do is we make it so that the whole of your house is insulated in such a way, which the best way to do it is using a vacuum. Hence why flask drinks work so well and they keep warm for longer, and at the same time so does your cold drinks inside a flask will stay cooler for longer. So the first initial bit of energy that you will create is boiling the kettle, get the kettle nice and hot, and then once you dip this water into the flask and you do it up, you're technically just storing that energy. But if you lived inside that flask, you've got hours and hours and hours and hours and hours worth of warm, hot liquid, and you can keep warm off of it. And the same way, if you cool it down, you've got hours and hours worth of cooling. Yet if you had a flask compared to just a cup, like right now all of our houses are like cups, and you'll fill this up with either hot water or cold water, and the environment and elements around you will cool that down. So technically it'll cool it, both of them down, or warm one of them up. So if it's cold, it's going to warm it up until it reaches that room temperature or environmental temperature, and the other one is if you heat it up until it cools down. The outside environment, again, everywhere has an impact on it, and thus for it cools down. Yet if you had your room, your house, rather than being an empty cup, it was a flask type of way forward, you are able to then heat your house up, but keep it warmer for longer on the first initial energy that you use. Thus for not like a kettle, but like your radiator. So it will heat up, reach a type of temperature that you're comfortable with, and then it should stay like that for a number of days, requiring less energy to heat the whole room or to cool down the whole room, such as this one is even more faster. So in this kind of a way, we can limit the impacts, but this one goes a lot further, and so does the heating one on here. It goes a lot further than having a storage heater in every single room. Rather than that, you would only heat the chamber, and the chamber would then go on to heat your house. I've got a few more stages to go with that before I release in the heated one. It just needs a little bit more tweaking, so I'm at that stage where I'm tweaking everything right now. So this is the cooling version, and these are insulation tiles or vacuum insulation, and they go at the side of the house. They also go on the floors. Yep, it's very important that we don't want the elements, because, you know, I don't know if anybody has a nice kitchen floor. You're on ground level, nice lump of concrete, and then we layer it with a kitchen flooring lino or vinyl, whatever you call it, and when you walk on that in barefoot in the winter, it's freezing cold, and when you walk on it in the summer, it's quite warm. So a way to get around that is put a vacuum tile underneath it and then lay the lino on top of this. Now this becomes warm or cool depending on what you are in control of, because it's no good heating your whole house and then you've got a massive slab underneath you that is cold. It just meh. I know they're insulated to a degree, but not quite. So anyway, so this process doesn't just stop there. I'm gonna pause it and I'm gonna load up another picture. Now I can't find the computer version one, and I swear I've done it and uploaded it, but for some reason I may not have saved the page, but the drawing is there. So the first pencil drawing that I do, just in case you ever lose anything. So I've dug through, I've got the copyright for it, but the only thing I haven't got is the original drawing, which is really weird, and I'm not opening my copyright to pull out the original drawing. I'll have to dig it up off the computer. So you're gonna have to make do with my hand drawing version for now. So right, if I put this to one side. Okay, so again, moving on with the same theme of insulating using vacuums, I also have another two actually, that help benefit this runaway effect of using large amounts of energy to get what we are already here receiving to this day. So we shouldn't have to change anything. And the other one is a FlaskKettle. If I can show you that. I don't know where I can put it where you'll be able to see it very good, so I'll put it here. So this one is a FlaskKettle, this one, and it acts the same way. The whole kettle is a flask. Now if done in the right way, which again is on my website, but the page might be hidden for now just whilst I'm tweaking, so I'm going to put it public, and on there are the drawings, these drawing versions. But I have done these on computer like I did the Egyptian cooling system. I just can't find them right now. They're somewhere on my computer. I've got many files. And the other one on the same theme is a Flask immersion tank. So when we power up here, we've got a lot of electric immersion tanks. So yeah, I don't know if I can show you the one here. So in here we have an immersion tank, which is this, and it's very hot. Okay, even though that it's got a nice jacket on it, I can still feel heat through this, quite a lot actually, and as soon as I open the door, woo, it's quite a lot of heat. And it's controlled via turning on and off via a switch. Now all of this is hot, everything is hot, this is hot, this is hot, this is hot. So we're leaking a lot of heat, there's a lot of heat. I don't have a thermal camera, but if I did, you would see it. Anyway, so that goes off to heat up here as well. And most of the ceiling above is quite warm. Now, there is insulation in the loft and all the rest of it, but it's good, right? And it slows down. But the difference is with this one, you would never get any of that heat leaking. And the reason why is because it would be like a flask, exactly like a flask. So if we heat that up and we turn it on, and after a couple of hours of it being on, we turn it off and we leave it like we're doing now, all of our heat is being wasted. It's just being wasted. And to stop this was the new one, which was going to be controlled by Osiris and Orisia, and it was contained inside a flask. So you still get the same hot water, but if I don't use all of that hot water, and all of us here do not use that hot water within, I don't know, less than a day, maybe a day and a half, that tank will go cold. And it's kind of detrimental to the environment. So that's why we've been inventing this Flask tank. Now there are a few problems that arise with this, but none too bad, none that are too bad that can't be overcome. So that's what we're at the moment we're doing. So I have got the versions that are on computer that end up if I get the mouse I can show you, like, we just got millions of files, to be honest. So I'm just gonna move all of this away. So we have got millions of files that are like this. So for me to dig those up, I should have got it really more prepared before I made this video, but you know, we got the drawing version. So yeah, one is basically Osiris and Orisia is a type of torque bot, and we got another one which is a FlaskKettle that goes with it too. And it doesn't stop there, because obviously it's controlled by the torque bot. All of this will be incorporated, and this is your kind of final end view of it. And it also applies for cooking as well. So again, it's on the website. This one is way more detailed. This one is really detailed. It's not just this. We love the Egyptian idea here. This is very brilliant, and it uses the same principle right here. Now all of this is copyright at the moment, so pretty good. My limits right now, the thing that I'm limited by, is I cannot for the life of me get a loan to support any of this. Every idea I've got, I just struggle to get a loan. Now, number one is based on if you work or not, and number two is whether you have credit, if you've got good credit history. And even if you do, if you don't work, it doesn't matter what type of credit history you've got, I cannot get a loan. So logically thinking, I don't understand how I'm meant to go forward with this. So if anyone's got any good suggestions, I'd love to know. So and then yeah, this is very beneficial. Now I heard that Tesla's going to be building a battery here. You see, that one can be pumped in with another one. I'm going to go on to another video in a minute, which can benefit that system so much that, you know, oh wow. I can't wait to do that video. That's really good, but very in the future looking, that one. And so is this one. But right now I find that I'm quite stuck in a situation where I can't move forwards with this. So yeah, that catch-22 really. But yeah, so basically turning your house into, with the Egyptian cooling system, is what we covered in the beginning, and that's using vacuum tiles. Looking at the fact that could we end up suffocating inside this? No. Looking at lots of problems. If you have any doubts about anything that you see me drawing on any of the videos, and you have any doubts, smash them in the comments, and it might be something that I've overlooked, and if it is, you become a part of the helpful process of oh, what about if you know, could you suffocate, you know, you could put that one onto a comment, but not that particular one. But if you find anything like that, put it in. Another one that we're working on as well was that when you put a lot of stuff in a vacuum and you go to undo the lid, it fizzes. I don't know if you've ever paid attention to that. It makes a because the gases kind of build up. Now the last thing we want to do is have a tank that explodes because of pressure. So there are lots of bumps in the road when trying to think about building stuff like this. Safety is always number one in all of this. So there are always problems that will arise, but they can always be overcome. And that's what we're finding. So it's a case of we sit down and look at our drawings that we've done, our ideas, and we try and smash them. We try and break them. Well, what happens if this happens? And in the beginning, I must admit, that was one of the most tedious tasks. I hated doing it. I hated doing it because when you was on such a good idea, you feel, and you're jotting it down, and then all of a sudden, after you've got that principle and everything else is all rolling and you're almost complete, then it comes to destruction stage, where you must try and destruct that. What happens if that builds with pressure? And it's like, oh, there's some more homework. Okay, no, in that one. Okay, what happens if this and this happens, or you melt through it? Okay, yeah, fair enough. And then you have to go back to the initial idea and then tweak it in a way that then eliminates all of these factors that come about. And then once you've done that, you then look at it again, and then you have to go and break it again. You have to destroy your own idea, and it's very soul crushing to do that, but at the same time it's very rewarding for the soul that you're starting to move forwards with this, and it's really starting to come alive. I kind of get really excited when doing this. So, but yeah, it's an uphill struggle, I'm not gonna lie. It is back and forth. It does leave you feeling mixed emotion, but the end result, focus on the end result. That's where we're at. So if you imagine that you boiled a kettle once and you made yourself a cup of tea. Here in England, most people, it's renowned, it's our stigma, isn't it? Have a cup of tea. So when we are boiling the kettle, right? And it's like 2 or 3 kilowatts each time you click the kettle, each time you click it down. And if you drink like 5 or 6 cups of tea in a day, no, you shouldn't stop doing this. So what our job is to do is to find a way that you can continue living in this way of life that we all love doing, that lowers the impact. So if you were to then incorporate this with the flask, like we're doing, and you switch on the kettle in the morning, you've got then 8 hours, 9 hours worth of boiled water. So yes, okay, you might want to fill your kettle up each day. Again, it's automatic. And once the kettle fills all the way up, and then it boils, lovely, 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 and it's inside the flask. Once it's boiled, it stays hot. So for the whole day, if this calculates, this is why it's so important with the bot, that when it calculates how many cups of tea you drink on average within a day, it will always guarantee you have that much water and a little bit more throughout the whole day, so that you only need to boil the kettle once, rather than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 times if you drink that much. Or if you drink coffee, you like to drink coffee, and you have 10 cups of coffee in a day. Imagine only ever boiling your kettle once. Okay, and then the next one is moving on to the immersion tank, or your hot water in your house. And here we have a lot of electric. I've come across mostly electric storage heaters. No, wait, wrong one. Immersion tanks, there we go. Immersion tanks, not storage heaters. And you know, if you're like me, you turn on the tank, let it heat up, and then you turn it off, and then you try and play the generation game of get everything washed, get everything done on that one tank of water, and then you have to then heat it up again and again and again and again. And I never use all of the water because it's always cold from natural processes, that it gets cold and you never use it. So value for money? No. And yet you could look at it and say, oh, we must all get rid of our storage. No, it's not the answer. It really isn't. Better energy consumption, production is number one. Number two is using the energy wisely. And this is where we've come with this. So it is a flask tank. So you heat the tank once, and I'm sorry, anybody that dries your clothes in an airing cupboard, the disadvantage to this. Oh, but don't worry, we got you on that one as well, because we've also generated a tumble dryer that uses little energy to achieve the unachievable. And wow, we've been putting it through its paces. We have been drying all sorts inside it, and it is just wow, wow, wow. Not just clothes. I swear, it does a lot more than just clothes. And it uses such little energy, whereas before we're talking tumble dryers are brilliant things. They really were. They served their purpose, and wow, salute you into the past. That's where you go. And then a new version comes out where it does the same job and more, but it uses little energy, which is great. If we can produce a little amount of energy off solar panels and wind technology, is brilliant. And Tesla's battery, the Giga battery, wow, again, look at it. This is how we move forwards, and then we use little energy to create the same results, basically. And if we use the same energy in terms of the immersion tank, well, you don't have to, you'll never lose your heat. In a way, you don't lose your heat via it escaping from your tank, and it gives you more of a chance to heat it once in a week rather than 3 or 4 times within a week to get the hot water constantly. And again, with the Osiris or Arisia being in control of this and knows how much water you use on average within a week, it gives you just a little bit more in there, and it will heat that water. And then again, if you start to shrink down and you don't even realize it, again, Osiris and Arisia will be able to go with this flow. So again, saving you even more money and saving the environment and saving power companies happening to, because it must be excruciating for power companies to go, oh my god, we gotta stick more of this stuff to give you more energy. It's crazy. They must be so disheartening to them, and what they want to do is do good by giving you energy, but at the same time we don't want to be using it this way, we want to be doing it this way. Can we? So here's the balance. So the power companies generate the power. A few ideas for you on another one. I'll link this onto another video, and I think I've already pushed a few of them out towards you to say, here, have this, get on with it. Yeah, I'm never going to find a loan for it, so I'm kind of stuck, really. And not only that, it's beneficial for everybody, especially if we get the Tesla battery here. Yeah, I've got a few more videos I'm going to do, which are really great. So let's see where we can go with it. And it's not just a case of, oh, just your idea. No, it's a mixture of every idea that is out there. Solar panels, wind turbines, different things. And it's incorporating all of these together in a not so together sort of way to generate enough power to shove it into that battery, which then the battery then can be inverted and take down to people's powerhouses and power their houses. So however that works from there, that's not my, that's you. Woo. Very noisy. It's going to get noisy in a second. And that's what it's all about. So it's a great sound effect, that. It's brilliant. So yeah, this all links together, and hopefully it brings profound changes to everybody's life, whether rich or poor. This changes the whole dynamics of the way Earth has been for millennia, and now this chapter, not quite but almost, can be left into the past, and now a new way of living and generating power, and also wisely using the power to still keep humanity incongruent to what we are doing and what we've become accustomed to. So yeah, and it does it all in the right way. Why? Because it protects the environment, it protects your money as well that you're going to be paying on the electricity companies, it protects a lot of things, it protects our energy companies, and it just keeps society going forwards, right forwards. So, and it's clean, nice and clean. So yeah, the end result, this one is a little bit more further. Again, this is on the website. I'm going to public it because I've got all of my copyright in place for these ones. So yeah, this is very next level, and I don't want to explain it here on the video. This one is a good read if you want to go and read how all of this works. Yeah, so I need to find somewhere on my computer there is the nice neat versions of this. These ones are just, I just draw first, and then this is the baseline, and then I go from there. So yep, which is a great way to do it, because if you ever lose anything, or you lose your backups on your computer, or data corruption or whatever, you've always still got your little North Stars, if you like. So yeah, very good, very good. So I'm going to leave this one here. So that's explaining the Egyptian cooling system, and if I ever talk about the Egyptian cooling system, that's what I'm on about. A way to heat the house and a way to cool down the house with using very little energy to achieve it. So yeah, and also with your loft, yeah, converting that space, very good. So if you were to make a solar roof, again, I'm going to go on to another video and show you the pictures of this. It's on my Facebook currently. So it's basically a solar panel roof is what it is. So you change the roofs for a complete solar panel or a solar cell, and the whole roof is made out of a solar panel along with some good amounts of materials inside there. And what the final objective is to this is you suck out as much air from the inside of this triangular shape with your solar celled roof. You suck out all of the air and then you seal it, and then you make a vacuum, a kind of vacuum within it, and this can go and replace your loft. So we can rid out what we've got up there and replace the roofs with basically a vacuum. And I think this is far more beneficial than any insulation that you can lay inside your loft. Because if there's a vacuum, how is that heat going to leave your house? How is that cold air going to get out? I mean, it's different because it sinks. But yeah, so that is the thinking on this one. And it could be the greatest thing that humanity could start implementing. You know, we've been doing this for a very long time. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to leave this one here, and then I'm going to move on to another one. Yep. So cool. Have a good day.